All right, today we are diving deep into one of the most intense and, let's be honest, misunderstood chapters in all of ancient literature, Revelation 13. You know the one. It's got monstrous beasts, cryptic numbers, all that apocalyptic stuff. But what if I told you it's not really a crystal ball for the future, but a brilliant, coded piece of political smack talk aimed squarely at the biggest empire on the planet at the time? Let's decode this thing together.
Right off the bat, the text just throws us into this absolutely wild vision. I mean, it's a monster mashup, a kind of Frankenstein's beast made of other apex predators climbing out of the sea. Now, this isn't just random, scary imagery. Every single detail here, the heads, the horns, the different animals, it's all a clue. It's a piece of a puzzle written for a very specific audience. And that, right there, is the most important question we can ask. If we really want to decode Revelation, we have to try to step out of our 21st century shoes and into the sandals of someone in the first century. We've got to read this text through their eyes, remembering that these were people living in the massive shadow of the Roman Empire. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the beastly puzzle itself. Then we need to get a handle on the language it's written in, the genre of apocalypse. We're going to trace that language back to its roots in the book of Daniel, compare Revelation to another text from the same time, crack the infamous 666 code, and finally pull it all together to see what the original message really was. Okay, so what's fascinating about Revelation 13 is that it's not just one beast, it's a whole coordinated team. Think of it as an unholy trinity. First, you have the dragon, which is the ultimate source of evil power. Then, rising from the sea, you get the sea beast, that multi-headed monster that represents a global political empire. And it's backed up by the earth beast, which, get this, looks like a gentle lamb but speaks like the dragon. This is the propaganda machine, the religious system, like the Roman imperial cult, that enforces worship of the state. These three work together, creating this web of political, military, and religious authority. Now, to really understand this trinity, we have to understand the language being used. See, Revelation wasn't some totally unique, one-of-a-kind book. Not at all. It was actually part of a very popular and, at the time, well-understood literary genre. And that genre is called apocalyptic literature. And here's the key. It wasn't really about predicting the far-off future. It was about exposing the truth of the present. It used these wild, symbolic visions, beasts, horns, cosmic battles, to talk about real-world empires and to send a message of hope that in the end, God, not Caesar, was the one in control. And all this symbolism, it served a super critical purpose. Think about it. If you're living under Roman rule, you can't just write a blog post that says, hey everyone, the emperor is evil and Rome is corrupt. That's a one-way ticket to prison, or worse. So instead, you write about a seven-headed beast. Now, for the insiders who know the code, they get the message loud and clear. But for a Roman official who might read it, it just looks like crazy fantasy talk. It's genius, really. So where did this coded language come from? Well, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere with Revelation. It has a very clear blueprint, one that was written centuries earlier in the book of Daniel. You could say Daniel is the foundational text that establishes the key metaphor for pretty much all apocalyptic writing to come: beasts equal kingdoms. You see, Revelation wasn't created in a vacuum. Way back around 300 BCE, Daniel lays all the groundwork. Then, fast forward to around 100 CE, and you've got both Revelation and another Jewish apocalypse called 4 Ezra using the exact same playbook. This just shows that there was this living, breathing literary tradition with established rules and symbols that everyone understood. And here it is. This is basically the Rosetta Stone for this whole genre. In Daniel chapter 7, the text is super explicit, linking each beast to a specific historical empire. The lion, that's Babylonia. The bear, that's Media. The leopard, Persia. And that terrifying horned beast, that's Greece. So when the author of Revelation comes along and describes a beast that's a mashup of a lion, a bear, and a leopard, his readers would have gotten it instantly. He's saying this new empire, Rome, isn't just one predator. It embodies the terrifying power of all the evil empires that came before it, all rolled into one. And to prove this wasn't just a one-off idea, let's look at another text written at almost the exact same time as Revelation. It's called 4 Ezra. Now, this is a Jewish apocalypse, not a Christian one, but it's wrestling with the very same problem. How do you stay faithful when you're living under the thumb of Rome? I mean, the parallels are just stunning. Revelation gives us this composite beast rising from the sea. At the same time, 4 Ezra describes this monstrous eagle, which also rises from the sea, and it has multiple heads and wings that represent a whole line of Roman emperors. You have 2 different authors using the same symbolic strategy to talk about the exact same global superpower. And just in case there was any doubt about who 4 Ezra was talking about, this quote just nails it. The eagle was the symbol of Roman power. It was on the standards of every Roman legion. It was the icon of their military might. So for a first-century reader, seeing an evil eagle beast was a direct, unmistakable critique of the Roman Empire. No question about it. Okay, now for the big one, the symbol everyone knows, 666. For centuries, people have tried to connect this number to everything from modern politicians to barcodes and microchips. But the answer, once again, isn't in our future. It's in an ancient linguistic game that was super common back in the 1st century. The text actually gives us a massive clue. It says, "Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man." It's not some timeless cosmic mystery. It's a math problem. It's a riddle for its original readers to solve. This practice is called gematria. In ancient languages like Hebrew and Greek, the letters of the alphabet also worked as numbers. So you could take someone's name, add up the numerical value of each letter, and get a total. And this wasn't some obscure, secret knowledge. It was common. Archaeologists in Pompeii found graffiti that literally says, "I love her whose number is 545." It was a clever way of naming someone without actually writing their name. So here's how they would have done the math. You take the name and title of the emperor who notoriously persecuted Christians, Caesar Nero. You spell that name out using Hebrew consonants, which gives you N, Ren, Q, S, R. Then you just follow the rules of gematria and add up the value of each of those letters. And the sum you get? It's exactly 666. The text said it was the number of a man, and the calculation points to one man in particular, Emperor Nero. So when we put all these pieces together, what do we get? Well, it means our entire understanding of Revelation 13 has to shift. It's not primarily a book about predicting the future. It's a powerful work of theology and resistance, written in the language of history and political critique. Okay, let's just quickly recap the key takeaways. The wild apocalyptic imagery? It's a coded critique of earthly empires. The beasts themselves, they symbolize the total political and spiritual power of the Roman Empire. The number 666, it's a direct, calculated reference to Emperor Nero, which means the original message wasn't for us, it was for them. It was a powerful call to stay faithful and resist, even when the biggest empire in the world demands your absolute loyalty. Its primary reference is their world, not ours. And that leaves us with one last really big question. If the beast was Rome and its number pointed to Nero, then this text isn't a roadmap to our future. But that doesn't mean it's irrelevant. Not at all. In fact, knowing the original meaning forces us to ask a much more interesting question. How does this ancient critique of absolute power, of empire, and of forced worship speak to us now? What are the beasts of our own time? Now that is something we're thinking about.